It is time for me to talk about and review another visual novel that was originally an H game. Then again, if the developers make an H version and a non-H version at the same time, did it really start out as an H game? Regardless of that, after a little bit of waiting after its initial release in November on PC, we once again have the entire Neko series on a handheld. Here is my review of Neko Volume 4 for the Nintendo Switch. A bit of time after Volume 3, Cashew has a clash with his father and starts doubting his cooking skills, thinking about what his dishes are missing to take them from being good dishes to great dishes. Over the course of the game, he has this conflict in his head and goes on a self-journey. With him being very bothered by this missing aspect of his dishes, his cat companions doing their best to try and support him, eventually ending up with him traveling, seeking out his old mentor, and hoping that through them he can find what he's missing. Overall, Volume 4's story is very comedic in a lot of stuff that goes on, despite the serious aspect of most of the game's plot. We've also got a good bit of sexual fan service that I will talk about in the next section. Before we do, let's talk about the beauty of Volume 4 being a much less predictable story than pretty much all of the other games. Volumes 1, 2, and 3 had their own stories, but they basically boiled down to Cashew getting close to two specific cat girls, bonding with them, and them eventually becoming his cat companions or cat girl girlfriends. Despite new and returning cat girls showing up in Volume 4 that are not a part of Cashew's harem, the writers decided to use them as a way to expand upon all of the backstory we get for Cashew and his family, rather than them just being cute little cat girls for him to add to his harem. Now, when it comes to gameplay, this is a visual novel with some slight interactive elements. Before we dive into that, there are two versions of Volume 4. The explicit H version that has a bunch of sex scenes over on PC, and the console version that has all of those H scenes written around and changed. I praised Volume 3 when it came out on consoles because they replaced the H scenes with something completely different and did a really good job at crafting those new scenes to feel natural. And whatever magic they used to do that in Volume 3, they completely lost when making Volume 4. Instead of being replaced by entirely new scenes, the H scenes were slightly altered into kissing scenes and still have that really sexual element to them. The way they're written, the way they sound, and the camera angles of the artwork make all of these altered scenes extremely easy to know exactly what happened in the H version without looking them up. Next, let's talk about some features and settings. The petting feature from the previous games returns here in both the PS4 and Switch versions. For the sake of comedy, this feature can be used on every main character in the game, including the human characters. But then we've got the screen shake and chest bounce features that, as far as consoles are concerned, are exclusive to the Nintendo Switch release. Neither of these settings made it into the PS4 version, just like with Volumes 1, 2, and 3. The rest of the gameplay is your typical VN fanfare. You've got auto advance and skip features for navigating through text. You can pull up the script and jump to specific points if you looked away for a moment and missed something. And you can make dozens upon dozens of manual saves so you can go back to a specific part of the story without skipping through everything before. Finally, let's talk about content and length. Volume 4 will last you about as long as Volumes 1, 2, and 3 did. I had it on auto advance the entire time with the text speed just a little bit faster than what the default setting was, and I got through the entire game in about 6.5 hours. Now let's dive into presentation, and the game looks a bit odd compared to the others. The backdrops look less crisp and more blurry than before. The animated models for most cutscenes have a lot more jaggies on them than in previous games. And while some of these smaller bits of CG artwork do look really nice, the larger ones look pretty jaggy as well. It's just a strange situation for all four of these games to look like they're using the same sort of engine, but one game looking significantly less nice and crisp than the others. I have nothing to complain about regarding performance, so now let's go into battery life. On the original model, Neko Volume 4 has a battery range of 4 hours and 4 minutes up to 5 hours and 48 minutes. On the Nintendo Switch Lite, it has a range of 4 hours and 46 minutes up to 5 hours and 54 minutes. And on the Redbox V2 2019 model, it has a range of 6 hours and 45 minutes up to 8 hours and 55 minutes. In conclusion, the Neko series returns with a new sequel that does well to be less predictable and more story-oriented than before. Now on the downside, the H scenes were not well written around this time, and the game has some odd issues with blurry backgrounds and jaggy animated character models. If you can get around that jagginess, however, it's still a good story that fans of the series will enjoy. Reviews to Go rates Neko Volume 4 for the Nintendo Switch a 7 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.